And like both, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm pretty much sold on Toyota because those things have lasted and there have been no major issues other than like, you replace all the consumables, the oil, the shocks, the battery,
That's why I like my Hondas, same thing. I feel like I never had to do anything to them.
It's such a weird feeling because, I've owned a Volvo, I had that truck, I had that stupid Lincoln Mark 7. Well, granted, my dad bought it used, and it was in an accident. You could see where the frame got cut, and they re-welded it. But
the best car that I ever had, by far, was my Saab 9.5. I loved that car. The only reason I'm not still driving it was because it was totaled in an accident. No one was hurt.
The best Saab 9.5 that you ever had.
It really was. Like, but at this point, Saab is like, well, I'm not going to get another one because now parts are really expensive and it's weird. But I loved that car. I think anybody who has a 9.5 would agree with me. That was a great ride.
Come on and take a great ride.
It's it's weird because like it's one of those things is it's not just the initial cost of the car, it's the life cost.
Yeah.
Lifetime cost. So and the thing that really bugs me is moving down here, my insurance went up $200 a year.
Moving across town, my insurance went up.
Really?
Yeah.
My insurance went up from Venice to Echo Park because they figured I'd be on freeways more.
Yeah. Yeah, my insurance, it didn't go up by that much, but it went up. And I was like, oh, is it just more dangerous to drive a car around here, I guess? And then I looked around and I was like, yeah, probably.
just more other bad drivers around you.
Stop signs or suggestions.
I mean, all of that stuff is determined based on accident rates, and it's all based on numbers. It's not somebody looking around and deciding what they think.
I mean, my area just has a lot of people driving expensive cars.
All these.
I think a lot of people in my new neighborhood drive farther to work than in my old neighborhood, and so that's probably it. But I look around and I'm like, people start driving better. Bring my rates down. Come on.
And I have all the discounts. I have the good driver discount.
I have all that stuff too.
I got old man discount.
You don't have an old man discount.
Yeah, what's that?
Once you reach a certain age,
Roger, you're not at that age.
You're 25, and then I don't think you get a discount as you get older. They raise your rates as you get older.
Is it? I know.
Your eyes are going. You're going to be more of a menace on the road.
Teenager land, it goes down, but then when you start to get older, it goes back up again.
When you hit your late 50s, it goes up again.
Yeah. That's the old man discount.
You pay more. Listen, you pay more to drive, but you get to Denny's and they give you a deal.
You make it up on coffee.
Right.
Yeah. Senior discount.
You get docked in certain areas.
There you go.
All right.
Shuffled through in others. Okay.
I want to ask Sarah to read today's open, but then I realize I don't really know how to properly pronounce this person's name.
I'd say Hinopol.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. Awesome. That solves that.
Okay.
If you feel confident, then
yeah. I mean,
I don't feel bad.
Confidence is key, Tom.
So true. All right.
Here
we go. 3, 2.
Hinopol has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Hano. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
Folks, you have reached the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I am Sarah Lane.
From Salt Lake City, Utah, I'm Scott Johnson.
And from a sunny LA County, I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
We have got some phone trends to talk about and decide if they're last gasps or new frontiers for the cell phone industry. But let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Viacom is buying the ad-supported Pluto TV and plans to put shows from MTV, Nickelodeon, and Comedy Central, as well as movies from Paramount on it. Pluto says that it has 12 million viewers, 7.5 million of whom watch on a TV.
Nice. Never even heard of it. The latest update to Microsoft's Edge browser for Android and iOS adds alerts for unreliable websites from NewsGuard. All right. Now, all you got to do is toggle it on or off in your settings, and went on 90% and 98% rather of online news sites will show a red or green icon for reliability in the address bar. You can tap on the icon for more information per site.
And IBM's cloud business grew 12% in 2018 as IBM shifts to cloud analytics, cybersecurity, and AI as its focus. IBM beat earnings expectations in Q4, and profit forecast for 2019 came in above expectations as well. The revenue declined, but it didn't even decline as much as people thought it would. So all pretty rosy for Gina Ramadi over there. Let's talk robots, Scott.
Let's do it. Let's talk Amazon robots. In fact, Amazon announced it is 2 now joining the world of delivery robots, led by companies like Starship, Neuro, Kiwi, among others. Yesterday, Starship announced it was expanding its robot delivery service to George Mason University in Virginia. And today, Amazon introduced Scout, a 6-wheeled robot similar to the other delivery robots. A pilot program for Scout will start with 6 robots total, accompanied by Amazon employees in the Snohomish, Washington area.
Snohomish.
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 It's famous as the location for the high school that was used in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, the movie.
Oh, well, I'm glad I said it weird.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You were just saying it backwards. That's all.
I was trying to avoid, you say it 3 times and
Well, so for anybody who's like, well, wait a second, I thought Amazon was already working with like drones and, how do these robots differ when it comes down to the consumer getting their goods?
Amazon is behind the curve here, right? Their robot looks just like all the other robots. They've got robotics in their warehouse, and that may be what a lot of people think, but they don't have robots on the streets the way Starship and Neuro and Kiwi and a bunch of others have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Amazon, I want to give them credit this time. They didn't try to make it sound like they're the only people doing this like they did with drone delivery, where actual companies have been doing drone delivery for years now and Amazon still isn't. This one, they said, hey, you know what? We're going to try this out. We're going to put it in Snohomish. They didn't say it, but they're a little bit behind, because they're going to have people out there walking them. A lot of these Starship ones are just monitored remotely now because they're trustworthy. But Amazon could quickly pass all of these first mover advantage companies because who doesn't want
Amazon
package delivered faster by robot?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Like they do this right. They pull this off right. They'll just lap them. Like this could be a big boon for them. But I'm looking at this thing. It does look like the other robots, number one. Number two, it just looks like a weird little garbage can on wheels. Like I still have all these fears about what a teenager could do to this thing. And I know it's got
pretty hardened to being beaten up, and they're monitored. The Amazon ones are going to have a person right next to them, but even the Starship ones are monitored. So
sure, yeah. It's just I can't get it out of my head when these things happen. Drones, whatever. Everyone says, "Oh, we're going to bring it right to your thing with a robot." I'm like, I know, like a pack of kids up the road, they're going to destroy that freaking thing.
They could also destroy the UPS driver if they really wanted to. I mean,
that's true.
Let's be honest.
Exactly. Right. It's not the robot that incites violence.
No, I do think it is crazy that we're living in a world where we're talking about how Amazon is late to the game of robot delivery.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And how we think teenagers might pick it apart. All right, let's move on to a few stories from cord cutting land. I'll run through a few of them. Hulu announced it'll lower its ad-supported subscription plan from $7.99 per month is US dollars to $5.99 per month starting on February 26th. The ad-free sub will stay at $11.99 per month, but Hulu Live TV will rise to $44.99 from the current $39.99 per month. DVR and expanded multi-screen viewing packages are dropping from $9.99 to $9.99 rather from $14.99 per month, probably because not enough people used it. In the same vein, YouTube TV added 95 markets in the US and says that it is now available to 98% of the country and hopes to reach the other 2% shortly. More than 90% of its markets have local affiliates from the top 4 broadcasters. And if you listen to all of this stuff and you say, oh man, it's a little tedious to stay on top of all these price changes and what companies are doing, there's a startup called Suppose TV, you may or may not have heard of, which has a tool to let you compare different services based on channel selection and price, among other parameters. A new feature called TV Service Alert will email you when your TV services change their prices or their channel lineup or their features. And the company just launched a new API to get access to its live TV database and recommendation engine.
Yeah, so it's like we had the Netflix price rise. Now we have a Hulu price stretch. One
rise and drop. It seems like they
expensive. And I love that Suppose.tv had good timing to say, hey, if you're getting tired of figuring out who's raising their prices and whether it's worth it, we're going to make it even easier. Because we've talked about it on Cord Killers before. Suppose.tv is a great tool for figuring out which plans have the channels that are most important to you, but you don't want to have to keep going back to that. So having this email alert that'll send it to you and say, hey, you know what? You stop thinking, stop worrying about it. And Scott, I'm curious what you think about this. Stop with the package fatigue. We'll just tell you when the next cool thing is so that you don't have to fret about it anymore.
No, I like that a lot because then I'm not A, surprised about it, or B, feel like I have to line up one of those awful calls where I have to call in and go, you guys did a bunch of stuff this year I didn't know about, and so I want to cancel. And then you got to fight over all the great new deals they're going to give you now to keep you. And then you start wondering, well, if you had that deal in the first place, why didn't you give me that to start with instead of this other bad deal? Like, I hate that whole loop of communication with my providers. So I do like this idea a lot. I'm a big fan of services in general that ping you and let you know when something you're using changes. I'm glad that it's a sort of a third party thing and I don't have to rely on some network or some, service like Netflix to do the reminding. I'd like to be reminded by these guys. So I think that stuff is great. The name, though, am I supposed to say Suppose TV like you'd say Suppose TV, like supposed to be? Am I supposed to do that?
I think, yeah, that they probably aren't mad at that comparison.
Well, if someone says, is this a cool service? And they go, well, it's supposed to be.
Which is just the name of it.
Yeah.
Well, it is what we call it. I've been calling it Suppose.tv so that I remember the URL because it's a .tv URL. But yeah, I also would like to make some feature requests to Suppose.tv for the future because I like where they're going here with automatic alerts. What if I am allowed to log in and authorize you, if I trust you, to just cancel services that I'm not using anymore, right? If you ping me, I'm like, hey, you still have stars, because there are services out here that do that too. So it'd be cool if they just started helping me keep track of what I'm subscribed to, not just when the price changes for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it if I could authorize them to cancel that stars thing I added onto something that I didn't mean to keep and past whatever show I wanted to see. I mean, that's a weird thing, giving them rights to do that sort of thing, but I like that idea more than me having to go figure it out. So yeah, do everything for me, Suppose TV.
Yeah, or even get to a questionnaire instead of having to pick channels. Like, what kind of stuff do you watch? What do you want? Yeah. Alphabet's Google disclosed Tuesday that it spent $21.1 million lobbying the U.S. government in 2018. That's more than its previous high of $18.22 million all the way back in 2012. Facebook also disclosed that it spent $12.62 million in 2018. That's its highest yet, up from $11.51 million in 2017, so just last year. Amazon spent $14.1 million, its most yet, up from the $13 million it spent last year. Microsoft spent $9.52 million, so quite a bit less than these other companies, and also not its greatest amount yet. That was $10.5 million in 2013. Apple spent $6.62 million, even less, and that's down from its high of $7.15 million last year. Reuters says Google is among the top lobbyist spenders in the entire country each year, alongside defense contractors, healthcare providers, and cable operators. The people lobbying your government the most are defense, healthcare, cable TV, and Google.
Can I say a controversial thing and then you can just shoot it down if I'm totally wrong on this? My assumption here, and it may not even be possible to say whether I'm wrong, but it seems to me the ones that have up to their budget and are at their highest level, Facebook, Google, companies like that, are the most invested and affected by any goings up or down of net neutrality / FCC control over the internet, that sort of stuff. While these other companies, Microsoft, Apple, while services are a big deal, and while internet traffic is a big deal for them, that's less of a focus for them. So it just seems to me that that's why they're higher and the others are lower. Am I wrong to think that? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if you're wrong to think that or not. I'm curious what people think. It does tend to look to me like the companies that feel like they have the most to fear from regulation are also the companies you are most likely to see spending money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Sorry, I got distracted by Slack for a second. Yeah, like if I'm Alphabet, aka Google, and all the things I do, I probably have a lot of stuff that I need to have continue happening and want to do in the future that is going to require the ear of people in places of power that can make those decisions for this country. And they probably, I don't know this because it doesn't say in there, but I'll bet they spend a good amount of money internationally as well. I don't know how that works in, say, Parliament or other places, but I'm sure they'd like the ear of those lawmakers as well. And it doesn't surprise me at all. Whereas Apple's like, meh, just want to sell a lot of phones and hardware and earpods and stuff. And
well, Apple, it's not like they don't have their problems with the FBI, right? They have a lot of problems with law enforcement, and they come under all kinds of patent lawsuits from Qualcomm and places like that. But they're less under the gun outside of the cryptography debate for privacy issues. And privacy issues and advertising are the hot ticket. And if you look at this, Facebook, Amazon, Google, they're all advertisers. Even Amazon making more and more money off advertising these days. Microsoft, not so much. They make some on advertising, but they make less and they spend less. And Apple doesn't really make hardly anything off advertising. They have a little bit in the App Store and that's it. And they're at the bottom of this pile. So it's correlation. I don't know if it's causation, but you could definitely correlate those together.
I'm terrible correlation causation guy. I'm bad at it. Like I tend to conflate the two all the time. I think that's a known thing of me. And Tom's always been a really great kind of counter to that. But what you say about ads hadn't even occurred to me. Of course, this has a lot to do with ads. It must have to do with ads. Because why wouldn't it? They need to know. I mean, there's constantly things like, is this fair to advertise this way or do this on a website? Shouldn't Google not be allowed to? Like that's always happening and being discussed. So of course they're spending more money to try to get their point across. Oh, hey, it's my turn.
Yes, it is.
Sorry. I guess we got the echo fixed. Sorry. For everybody who's wondering why Scott was distracted by Slack, it was actually a production Slack thing and we were trying to figure something out, but I think it's good now. Anyway, Google announced that its G Suite users will be transitioned from the Hangouts app to Hangouts Chat starting in October of 2019. Hangouts Chat has a more Slack-like feature set and is already available for G Suite users. Consumers will continue to be able to use Hangouts app through though Google expects to announce a transition to free chat and Meet at a later date. Now, if you are like me, that's a lot of names to keep track of.
Right. It's like, how does Hangouts change? It's very confusing. Google has been so good at being confusing about this for years now.
The problem is that they named everything Hangouts, right? They had a product called Hangouts, and then they started to split that product up and kept calling it Hangouts. And so we'd all say like, oh, you use Hangouts? I heard Hangouts is going away. Well, not that Hangouts. That Hangouts is over here. They even changed Google Talk to be Hangouts, even though it wasn't Hangouts or the original Hangouts, which is now Hangouts on Air or Hangouts Meet.
Yeah. And how could anyone be expected to keep this all straight?
But Hangouts is not going away. It is also going away because everything's called Hangouts. So when people panic about Hangouts is going away, who knows what they're panicking about? Could be nothing, could be something. But if I can try to boil it down, what Google seems to be doing, if I've made sense of this, is replacing the chat app with another chat app. And they're going to do it for enterprise users first in October, and then they're going to do it later for consumers. So if you're a consumer and you use the chat app called Hangouts, don't worry about it. It's going to be at least after October before you're going to have to worry about switching to a new app. And Google hasn't even said how they're going to make that transition. If you're on G Suite, then you should probably download Hangouts Chat now, which is what that app is called, Hangouts Chat, and start signing up for it. That's their Slack-like alternative, because that's what you're going to get transitioned to in October.
Yeah. And all this makes sense. They're just really bad at this whole name thing. I remember when Docs and Drive got combined, and there was some confusion around that. Like, wait a minute, I go to Docs still but it's Drive now, and that means what? There are files in there.
I never know what to call the instant messaging inside Gmail, which I know is technically Hangouts. But if I say Hangouts, no one knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. If I say G-Talk, people who are older have been using it for a while.
Kind of antiquated, yeah.
Yeah, but new users are like, what's G-Talk? I've never heard of that. So,
yeah.
Well, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, don't forget we have another show. We have a bunch of other shows. We have monthly video game briefing with Scott Johnson and Patrick Beja once a month for the mainstream gamer. We have daily tech headlines, keeping you up to date Monday through Friday with Rich Stroffolino, Sarah Lane, and myself at dailytechheadlines.com. Let's talk phone trends. We got 3 new phone trends. It's a month from Mobile World Congress, and the phone companies are starting to try to get on the agenda. They're leaking out a little information to say, hey, reporters, when you get to Barcelona in a month, be sure to pay attention to us. First one, I'm going to give you 3, and then we can discuss which we think are actual trends and which we think are just last-ditch efforts, or maybe all 3 or both. Meizu announced its new Zero phone. No ports, no buttons.
That's what the Zero refers to.
No holes.
It's the wireless office.
0 apertures. No
already.
speaker holes, no SIM card slots, no charging port. It does have a camera bump on the back, and it does appear to have some slight holes for the microphone on it. So maybe it's not 0 holes, but it's a 5.9-inch AMOLED screen. Small bezel in the front for your front-facing camera. The screen contains the fingerprint reader and the speaker, so it's not like it doesn't have a speaker. It's just in the screen. They claim an 18-watt wireless charging apparatus, so that's quite a bit faster than Samsung or Apple, and haptic virtual side buttons, so you still have volume buttons on the side. They're just not actually buttons. They also didn't announce a price or release date. Now, that's number 1. Number 2, Xiaomi released a video on Weibo of its engineering model of a foldable phone. Foldable, we know, is a big category. Xiaomi's phone is a tablet form that folds on both sides underneath the middle section to create the phone form factor. Again, this is just an engineering model. Third, LG published a video promoting its Mobile World Congress press event showing a hand swiping above a piece of paper to reveal the message, "Goodbye Touch," implying gesture control. Gesture control of smartphones has been around for years. Samsung's had it for 5 years, but it hasn't really caught on yet. LG's announcement is scheduled for February 24th at Mobile World Congress. So, Sarah, Scott, lay it on me. Which of these is going to revolutionize the phone market, and which of these is just a desperate attempt to revitalize sales?
You know, I have to say that the Meizu Zero phone, just in the sense that it is, you know, I made a joke earlier, like, oh, wireless office, but I do like the idea of, and I think most people do, you know, how many chargers and ports and blah, blah, blah do you want? No, in a perfect world, we don't need any of these things. But in the modern world that we live in, we still do need them. So any phone that can do everything I want it to do, and yes, you've got a headphone port, because I guess it would be really hard to sell a phone of this caliber and say, like, well, everything's got to be Bluetooth wireless. But if we're going in that direction, I think that's the direction that all phones are going to go in.
There's no headphone jack on this thing.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Well, I thought it said that there was.
No, speaker. There's a speaker in the screen. That's it.
Yep.
Holes for a microphone, not a headphone jack. You know what? I like this phone even more now. I do. I mean, I understand that a lot of people would be like, well, but what, I have all these things, and what am I going to do with all this stuff that I've been using for my previous phones? Recycle. And that's a whole garbage dump. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That you have to deal with individually. But I am down for a frictionless phone experience.
Here's the negative, though. You have to carry that wireless charger with you. Because you can't plug this thing in anywhere. There's no charging
port. You had to carry the chargers with you anyway, or the battery pack, or whatever,
though, and like plug it in with at the airport with the USB thing at the jack. Not that I ever do that because I don't trust it, but theoretically people do that. So yeah, I guess it's
I don't know, Scott. I mean, what do you think? I feel like I'm getting rid of all of this stuff is like the less of this, the better. The less of this,
I kind of agree with you, and I actually think I think it's even Apple's thinking. They want as little of that as possible. Let's go Face ID. Let's not have phone jacks anymore on the iPad Pros. At least this model. Let's not even have a Lightning jack. Let's just go with some, USB-C thing, and everybody can figure out what they want to connect into it. And a lot of people complain about it, but I do think the future is a little less holes in your device, and a little less things to have to plug in and worry about. However, that wireless charger, last time I checked anyway, for any of these phones, I have one over here, are about the size of your phone itself with a cable connected to it.
They're pretty big.
Taking that on a plane kind of sucks. I don't know. Like, That's the only hang up I'd have. The rest of it,
Yeah.
Bluetooth audio, speakers built into the screen is kind of cool. I like virtual buttons on things. Like all of that stuff is fine.
I think this is too far ahead of its time. I think this actually will be what phones will look like down the road as this becomes more and more pervasive, and you don't worry. And wireless charging becomes pervasive enough that it is also at the airport and places like that. I think foldable is probably the one that's least likely to catch on out of all of this, though. Maybe I may be wrong if somebody cracks the form factor so that it really feels like a thin phone in your hand when it's folded up. I really want this to work, but I don't see it working yet. Gesture control is the wild card for me. It hasn't caught on yet, but LG seems to think it's got the thing. And I could see, if it's done right, the ability to not even have to touch your phone, to be able to just do certain moves to dismiss notifications or call up your camera or something. I guess if you have the camera, you want it in your hand. But I could see that potentially being a differentiator that people think is cool.
I do think that you mentioned form factor, and that's going to matter a lot for a foldable phone. And the wise words of Kenny Rogers comes to mind. You've got to know when to fold it. Well, when I fold mine, it'll be when it's not 9 inches thick when you fold it. And
so you're not going to gamble on one of the first models.
No, I'm not. I really am not. But I do love the idea of I don't even think of it as a tablet. It's just a bigger screen for a while when you're in a certain way of using it. And you're like, oh, I need to use the phone. Clamp, boom, I'm on the phone. It's a very, very cool idea. But until that stuff gets thin, and so when you've folded it, it's no thicker than current modern day phones, then you've probably got me. Gesture control, I don't know that ever takes off, to be honest. That one's probably the least interesting to me. And I base that on purely just total gut instinct. I'm probably wrong, but the idea of me just looking at a phone and doing this and swiping my hand left and right seems ridiculous. And extra work, actually, versus just doing it with my thumb on the screen.
Well, people who have their thumb on the screen and maybe do not are people in our subreddit, because you stretch the world wide over. Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on other stories. Make a friend while you're at it. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook. Same idea. Facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show. And now let's check in with Chris Christensen. We've missed you, the amateur traveler, sharing the dangers of having a social media lead vacation.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. You talked last week here on the Daily Tech News Show about people being banned from YouTube by doing stupid things and recording it. The same thing has been happening on cruise ships, and Royal Caribbean is none too happy. A man jumped off an 11th floor balcony into the ocean 100 feet below so his friends could film it on Instagram. He was drunk, do you think? They got 157,000 views on Instagram, but they also got banned for life, and Royal Caribbean is considering legal action. Yeah, don't do that. I'm Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
It feels like it doesn't need saying, but apparently it needs saying.
Yeah.
Always,
As popular as this will be, please don't do this.
Yes.
You might die.
Thank you, Chris Christensen. Let's check out the mailbag, Sarah.
Let's do it. Steve, a Patreon supporter, says there are two principles underpinning Singapore's AI framework, because we talk a lot on the show about how different countries are dealing with AI technology and how to combat some of the potential issues. Steve says, one of that is decisions made by or with the help of AI in Singapore are explainable, transparent, and fair to consumers. The second is that AI solutions are human-centric. Singapore is working to be one of the jurisdictions with sound approaches to data management and the governance of AI, as well as other frontier technologies. If today is a slow news day, could be an interesting discussion. As if that were true, Steve. But yeah, and Steve actually linked us to a really interesting article in the Straits Times, which is Singapore-centric, for a little more information about this.
Yeah, so I do feel like this is interesting because Singapore is always trying to make itself into a technological hub, but it is also an authoritarian might be a way to put it. Government, it's strict in its laws. People have freedoms there, but they don't have all the freedoms that you might have, and so they're always trying to walk that balance between encouraging innovation and keeping an orderly populace. And this feels like they're almost the best to do this. Like, okay, AI can do all kinds of things, and we want it to do all kinds of things, but we want to limit what its bad effects could do. So maybe Singapore is the great place to start this conversation. And I can't say that I disagree with at least the way he put it in his email. Steve says that decisions have to be, explainable, right? If an AI makes a decision, says you're denied for insurance, you should be able to explain why. It shouldn't be like, I don't know, the algorithm said it, right? It should be transparent so that like this is, somebody can go in and audit. Maybe it's not me, but somebody who knows AI can go in and go, wait, how are you conducting this? How does the AI work? And it should be fair to consumers, which is, almost tautological to the rest of it, but says, hey, it's not denying people for reasons that are not okay. I'm using insurance as an example, but that should apply to everything.
Yeah. Insurance is a good example though. That's one that,
Yeah, it's one that people always think of.
Sure.
Steve, thank you so much for the feedback and the recommended reading for the rest of us, which we will do. And also thanks to Scott Johnson for being with us this fine hump day afternoon. Scott, where can people keep up with the rest of your work?
They can just head on over to frogpants.com. Show Tom brought up earlier, the monthly video game briefing is linked there as well. And I'm really enjoying that with Patrick. It's such a fun way to talk to a more mainstream gaming audience that also listens to DTNS. If you haven't checked it out before, I think you'll really enjoy it. You can find that at frogpants.com, and you can find me over at Scott Johnson on Twitter.
Folks, there's lots of ways to support this show. If you just listen to it out of iTunes, you're already supporting it because there are ads at the beginning, and that helps us put away a little money. What mostly funds the show is the ad-free version of the show, which you get through patreon.com/DTNS. You can also buy things in our store at dailytechnewsshow.com/store. That is all there for you. So if you can't afford to give us $1, just listen to the public feed. If you can get some perks, including I've got an editor's desk coming up to the people who support at $5 a month later this week that explains how I go about writing the headlines when I do the headlines for Daily Tech News Show or Daily Tech Headlines. So you can check that all out at patreon.com/DTNS.
Have you heard the good word? We have an email address and you are privy to it. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is the email to send your comments, questions, and feedback to. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC. Please join us if you can and find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with a Thursday appearance from Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was a really good block of stuff. Like we had lots of little good discussions in today's show. I like that.
I did too. Good stuff.
Chock-a-block.
Hey, wait, was Patrick not on yesterday because
Justin and Brian? Justin wanted to be on yesterday to promote the Night Attack album.
Right, they did the full.
They swapped days.
Yeah. He did. We did TMS the same way for him.
Yeah, Night Attack, the #1 Amazon album earlier today.
Yep.
Wow.
All's Well was #1 album.
That's so great.
I know.
Wow.
Amazing.
You guys are the best.
They're
Keep on
number
keeping
one.
on.
Literally number
They're
one.
number one.
Look, Ma, no ports.
Oh, I like it.
I like that one. That's good.
Look, Ma, no ports.
No ports, no holes, no buttons, no charging.
I also have to say, while we're thinking of the, we'll do the topic of the show first.
No. I think Look, Ma, no ports wins, but Meizu shuts its hole did make me laugh.
It's pretty funny.
I'm looking through to see if there's any other.
I prefer the Look, Ma.
Yeah. Me as well.
If I have to choose. Oh, but no, what I wanted to say was a lot of folks, you did email us back at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, but also I got some DMs on Twitter and like even a couple on Instagram and some personal emails from folks with wireless earbud suggestions for me.
Suggestions. Yeah.
We really did. And I just want to thank everybody for going the extra mile to get a hold of me and let me know. I got quite a few thumbs up for Anchor, the Anchor earbuds, but I also, which one was it? I've got it pulled up here somewhere. I was sort of, of all of my feedback, I got, let's see.
Which
Which the other one? Oh, I think it was, no. It was the one that Wirecutter said was its top model. So let's look at that again. Anyway, people really care about the wireless earbuds that they wear for a variety of reasons. I got some sports people, marathon runners, people who are like, I've got weird ears. They don't fit that well. So, and I have all of those problems. So I just really appreciate everybody's feedback. And I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive and try some stuff out and then let you know.
Yeah, I like the idea of you getting, collecting the suggestions, implementing one of those suggestions, and then reporting back. Like, all right, we tried it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So best wireless.
So what next? What else do we need? Anybody else need anything? What do I need? I just got an air filter for my heater.
Oh, the Jabras. That's the one that I was forgetting the name of. The Jabras. People love the Jabra Elite.
Is it? Those aren't the can ones, right? The ones that look like.
No, they're in ear. Yeah, they're little.
I've got some. I don't know where
little suckers.
Found them. So these Jabra, I forget what they're called.
Ooh.
For anyone's looking for over-the-ear style.
Okay.
Inexpensive and incredible sound, and also Wirecutter's pick for this style anyway. They're Jabra crap. Hold on.
Why aren't you wearing them right now?
Brand name.
I could use them here actually, but they're mostly wireless, so I use them with my when I jog and stuff.
Oh, I see.
But they have incredible sound, and
so you don't believe the sound.
It's only like $60 or something, I think, and they're purely 100% wireless. They have all the like phone functionality stuff, pause, answer phones, volume up and down, all that junk. And I can't find the name. That's fantastic. It's not really on the. Oh wait.
Can you ask it? Is it smart enough? Like, Jabra, what are you?
I don't think it is.
Jabra, tell me your feature set.
What's your model number?
Now I feel like a dummy because I'm giving a bad recommendation. I'm going to find it.
They should do a Star Wars edition called Jabra the Hutt.
Jabra the Hutt. It could be a little soundproof room with all the audio around you.
And then if you don't hang
all the
up
audio
in time,
comes through in Huttese.
Well, every time it'll just kind of chuckle at you. Go.
Boshuda. I thought I was listening to Halsey's latest track, but instead I'm just hearing Boshuda.
Hold on, I'm not finding it. Here it is. Jabra Move. It's called, and my wife has a red pair. I have a
is
black.
That just 1 0 or 2?
Let's see, 63.38 on Amazon. Totally worth it. These have been amazing for me. Highly recommend.
You know what? This made me wonder something though. I'm going to try something live. I'm going to mute myself so that I don't do it to everyone who happens to be playing this out loud. What model are you?
Are you supposed to be?
She's giving me definition of the verb model.
Who is?
The Echo.
Oh, she's no good at that stuff.
Yeah. Who is a very tall, wafy person?
That was about the verb, not even the noun. The verb to model is a verb
to model.
That means to show.
Yeah. When you, please see Madonna's Vogue video.
Because I said, what model are you? Right? I would think it would be like, I am the Echo Show Plus or whatever it is. That's not a real model.
Shouldn't it do that? It should do that.
No, it didn't do that.
It should. That's dumb. It should.
So look, Mono ports, correct?
Look mono ports. Yep.
There are a lot of things that my Amazon assistant does not get where I'm like, you're better than this.
Come on.
You
Come on,
are.
Allie.
This was easy.
Oh
this
my
was
gosh.
a softball.
I just asked Google the same question,
Uh-huh.
and it wants to make me read which supermodel are you? A BuzzFeed quiz.
All right. We've done 2 of the 3.
I think you're a Turlington, Scott.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. What's her first name?
Christy.
Christy Turlington. Okay. I would just
Yeah.
stay home and stare at myself.
Siri said, "I'm not sure I understand."
Really?
At least she was on. At least Siri was on it.
At least it's honest in this one case. Well done, Siri. One time you get it right.
Oh goodness.
What model are you?
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, because you're dumb.
She's like, I don't think this is a question that, I can answer.
Let's see what this is.
Question: Frank and Pants.
Imagine if she was like, I don't want to offend you, but you are not a model.
I mean, no doubt, sister. She doesn't know what to say.
What if she started crying after you said she was stupid?
I tell my
just when you break the assistant and the assistant is just like, I can't.
Sobbing.
I'm leaving. I gotta get another job.
That's when AI really gets good.
I yelled at
When
my
it starts
Echo the other
guilting
day.
you.
I yelled at my Echo and told it to shut up because it was getting something wrong. So I went, A word, shut up. And my daughter was mad at me. She went, hit me in the arm. She goes, you shouldn't do that. I go, what do you mean?
Polite.
It's a robot. She goes, I know, but you never know. It's just not nice.
Bad habit to get into, because someday the robots will be upset at you for this.
Right, because your instinct would be like maybe to do that to a human, which is probably where your daughter was coming from. Yeah.
Peacemaker.
By the way, old guy in our Discord spelled look mono ports. Look mono ports.
It's too clever.
Yeah, it's too clever to use on the actual title, but
it's very good.
But applause.
But too clever. Yes.
Applause to old guy for that one. That was well done.
Limited audience.
Yeah.
Good work.
Look, mono ports.
Good. Look, mono ports.
Or monkey ports, because mono is Spanish for monkey.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
I did not know that. What do you think, Odie? Are you a
could
little
have used
mono?
that last weekend. Mono?
Right, yeah. Where are the monkeys?
El mono?
I need more monkeys.
Donde
I got a
está
pig
el
on a
mono?
leash. Not enough.
Where
Well,
monkey?
I'll tell you, I'm really excited about doing my little test drive thing. You know, when you get like to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to get a new car. It's kind of annoying, kind of a hassle, but now I'm sort of excited about it.
Yeah, it's making me think. I don't know. Every time I start looking at a car, I'm just like, I'm going to get a white Ford Focus. Like, that's what I end up with, because I'm just like, I want something nondescript. No one notices it on the road. It's safe.
I sort of suspect I'm going to end up with a Honda Fit because I actually really like them.
Well, the Fits are cool and they last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, they've got a pretty good back seat. I got a dog. I want to be able to put the seats down. I like I like everything about it. And they're, not a super expensive car. It's actually probably the right car for me. But I'm going to test drive some other stuff first.
Plus, the Fits are very across the board. You're speaking my language, because I'm like Tom. I don't need anything fancy. I'm not trying to show anything off. I don't need anybody to look at me and go, ooh, look at that guy. I just need
not at all.
Functionality, usability. I want it to last for a long time. I want it to keep its value. Like, can't go wrong with, Honda Fits are basically what I just described. They're really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a little, because I've been spoiled by modern vehicles. It's like, there's, lane change assist and navigation, and there are certain things where I'm like, well, I do really want that on the next car, but you don't have to have some big luxury car to have that anymore, and so much of that can go through CarPlay.
I know that's the kind of dirty little secret in the car building industry, is that a lot of those things, lane assist, those are component add-ons that you bolt on to your existing, or not existing, but you bolt onto a car design. So it's not like it's integral when they design it. In other words, you don't need to go from a blank sheet of paper to put all that stuff in there. It's like backup cameras, right? You just need to run a tiny camera somewhere above your license plate and run the cord up to the dash. All that stuff. Anti-lock brakes.
I'll miss my cassette player and my.
Will you?
Yeah. And my.
All right.
Really
when's the
dumb-
last time you ran a tape through that thing?
Last time I put anything in that particular device was when the aux jack that Brian Cooley installed in 2005 in that car stopped working briefly, and I used the cassette to aux jack adapter for a short period of time until I figured out what was wrong with the other aux jack.
Yeah.
So it's been a solid 10 years.
Oh, no, that was actually about, I don't know, 10 months ago now.
Oh.
Early last year.
Oh, I see. It was 2005 that you got that.
2005 is when Cooley put the aux jack in. He did a CNET video about how to install an aux jack in your car in 2005, and he used my car and said, company paid for this video. I'm going to it'd be harder to take it out than leave it in. Here, it's yours. And so I've been using that ever since, but it stopped working briefly, and I figured out what it was. It was a battery issue. And once I figured that out, it wasn't even it was disconnected to because it draws power from the car's battery. Anyway, once I figured that out, I stopped. But for the brief period I wanted to hear music in that car before I figured it out, I was using the cassette adapter. That was like March. Yeah.
When's the last time you actually ran a cassette, though?
Like an actual cassette? I don't know if I ever. I don't know if I've ever put a cassette in.
Yeah, because the car is, that.
Even before Cooley put the aux jack in, I was using the cassette adapter for plugging in my iPod.
Yeah.
Right.
And my wife has one of those. It's an iPod jack in her car stereo. Only interface.
Oh yeah, this thing that Cooley put in has the old connector, the pre-lightning connector.
Yeah.
And wide one, yeah.
Yeah, that one has that, and it has a USB. I could just stick a USB in it, and it'll just play MP3s off a USB.
Nice.
I never use either of those. I just use the aux jack.
I may have mentioned to you guys, or maybe not, that I used to be a Sirius satellite radio subscriber, and you get that
Sirius satellite.
I was very serious about it. Sirius XM, and it's the sort of thing that you get as a bundle with cars sometimes. And then it ran out, and I was like, oh, I actually really liked my Sirius stations, but whatever. So a friend of mine, she has, I don't know, the same kind of a deal, and her trial period is up, and she was like, I have to get it. How could you live without Sirius? And I was like, why don't you just use Spotify? Because I particularly use Apple Music, but she uses Spotify, and I know that. And she was like, yeah, but how would I play that through my car? And I was like, via Bluetooth. And she was like, bing. I'm like, yeah, you don't need radio. If you want terrestrial radio, it's free, whatever, go nuts. Cause I do that too, but don't pay for premium radio. Yeah, if you can connect your cell phone to your car speakers.
If you have Sirius XM, you likely have Bluetooth, no?
No, she does. She just never really thought about the idea that oh, my Spotify playlist could just be played through my car. I'm like, yeah, it's really easy. It's like a very easy
system. Yeah.
Because I don't know, people, get
this is the reason that radio is still Brian made that crack about radio. Who listens to radio? I'm like, you'd be surprised. Millennials listen to radio in large numbers.
Oh yeah.
And I think
because it's friction free, you just play a station.
I know
if there's commercials, you change something else.
Eileen knows how to use Bluetooth, but every once in a while the Bluetooth acts up, or her Apple Music or Spotify acts up, and she's like, it's screwed. I'm just going to listen to the radio because it's there and it works.
Well, so KCRW is a radio station in the Los Angeles area, which is an NPR affiliate, but also has a lot of kind of local, cool up and coming artists that are featured. It's a great station, and I listen to that for weeks at a time. every once in a while I'll be like, whatever, this is, is annoying me, and then I'll switch over to my phone. But yeah, it's also public radio, so you're not getting a lot of the commercials that are very annoying with other stations, but it's great.
Yeah, even when I'm playing like Amazon Music, we're playing Apple Music through an Echo or whatever it is we're doing in the house. It's very rare that we're like, play this particular playlist. We're going, play 70s rock and roll. And basically, I'm just setting up a permanent station that just plays all the time.
Yeah.
I use my Echo to play today's hits. That's all I ever do.
Did you do that today?
I did. Yeah.
What was today's hit?
Yeah.
Well, it's Ariana Grande, 7 Rings, and Halsey, and Post Malone, and Post Malone with Sway, the Sunflower song.
Gotta tell you, I love that Post Malone.
Yeah, I like it too.
Hit after hit.
I mean, the Sunflower, totally different vibe than Wow, and they're like almost back to back on that.
I like his Rockstar song's really good. Anyway, here's what Tom, what I picture is you sitting in front of it going, A-word, please play the hits of today.
I will explain more about this situation for the audio listeners. Video listeners, that's all you get. Thanks for watching, though. Audio folks, stick around.